Hey everyone, this is Pastor J. Bruce Langley with the International Apostolic House of Prayer, and I would like to continue a little Bible study that we began called The Amazing Names of God. And we're going to begin thinking about the idea of the Great I Am, which is actually the name that the Lord Jehovah gave to Moses as he revealed himself to the leader of the Hebrew children, the Hebrew people at that time in the book of Moses. We're going to read in Exodus 3:13 through 15 from the Holman's Christian Standard Bible these words. It says, "Then Moses asked God, 'If I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What should I tell them?' God replied to Moses, 'I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you.' God also said to Moses, 'Say this to the Israelites, Yahweh, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is how I am to be remembered in every generation.'" It's pretty clear. This is the God of heaven, Jehovah Elohim, by name, telling that this is his name. He's describing his name and that this is the way he'd be remembered. So I have said before, and others have said, that this is his personal name. This is how he was known to, how he desired to be known to the Hebrew people. Now there are also attributes and titles and descriptive monikers of God that we have talked about in our previous Bible study. But this was to be a special case. This is the special name, or the special place where God's fame, which is the meaning of the Hebrew word Shem, is name but also fame. So it's a memory device to remember who God is. And I think that's something important. That name, Jehovah or Yahweh, was used more times than any other name. One particular source I read said that it was 6,519 times in the Bible that the word Yahweh or the name Yahweh was used. Now, Adam Clarke is a classic theologian back from the 1800s, and he expressed the meaning of the name Yahweh from a much studied point of view. He told that the Vulgate, which is the version of the Latin version of the Old Testament, translated the words "I am that I am." The Hebrew words translated into Latin were "ego sum qui sum," or "I am who I am." The Septuagint, which is the translation that was the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, "ego eimi ohon," which means "I am he who exists." The Syriac, the Persic, and the Chaldee preserve the original words without any changes. But Adam Clarke makes this very interesting and important statement. As the original words literally signify, "I will be what I will be," some have supposed that God simply designed to inform Moses that what he had been to his fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he would be to him also and the Israelites, and that he would be faithful to perform promises that had been made to those forefathers. So we find that Yahweh, or Jehovah as he's also called, is wanting people to know him by the fact that he is eternal and that he will endure throughout all ages. And it's reflective of the ideas in the book of Revelation, where we read He is the one who was, who is, and who will be. As we're sitting here thinking about that, it brings this to my mind. Now, again, Adam Clarke, who I like reading his work. If you haven't read Adam Clarke's commentary, you've got a real treat if you like the Bible and things about the Bible. He makes the statement, it's difficult to put a meaning on the words of that Jehovah spoke to Moses, but it seems to point that he wanted to show his eternity and his self-existence as God. In other words, he has always been and he will always be. Now, also, Adam Clarke points out something very important, that the name Jehovah Elohim first appears in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verse 4. And it's the name, of course, from that point on that he was known by. And we're going to talk later in some future studies about the name Elohim, or the title Elohim, and its meaning as God, and the uniqueness of it in the Hebrew language and how it's treated. But I will save that for a time that we have a little bit more time to cover that in the future. And so the Lord wanted us to know that his personal name was Jehovah. Now, we can also find some information that's very important in Exodus chapter 6, verses 2 through 3, from, again, Holman's Christian Standard Bible, that says in verse 2, God spoke to Moses, telling him, I am Yahweh. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God Almighty, or El Shaddai, but I did not reveal my name Yahweh to them. Now, this actually could be relooked at in the translation. It's very similar in other translations, but there was a fellow by the name of Thomas McDaniel that came up with a different explanation of this. He believes that that this dilemma, in other words, we know that Jehovah was referred to, Jehovah Elohim was referred to in Genesis 2. So why is this guy saying in Genesis 4, Moses writing, why is he saying, oh, it didn't happen, that he was ever revealed as Jehovah Elohim? Well, it has to do with some small nuances in the Hebrew language where a negative particle in one place that would normally mean not or be a negative was in fact an emphatic affirmative, which is lu. Now that's a bunch of information, ain't it? Well, what it boils down to is that just with one re-looking at two of the very small particulars in this passage, we can read, might as well say one vowel change. It could also mean, I appeared as El Shaddai, and by my name Yahweh I had indeed made myself known, which makes more sense in light of some of the other words that were read earlier. He could not have been, it could not have been that he was not known, because he already said he was known in an earlier chapter. So I'm going to say that I believe that God revealed himself as Yahweh and El Shaddai to those that followed him. Now, Deuteronomy is a place we're going to follow next and talk about the very famous part called the Shema in Deuteronomy chapter 6. We'll save that for our next lesson. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening to our 10-minute Bible studies.